Cool. Okay, great. Yeah. Maya, if you couldn't hear anything, that's just because nobody was saying anything. Hopefully you can hear something now. So, hey, we're live. It's the Meshery development meeting for October 5th, Wednesday, October 5th. There is any number of things to discuss today. This is also the right time to drop in anything into the list that you want to discuss. So if you've got an agenda item, plop it in. I'll put these a little lower. We might ask for Nishant to potentially share some of his work. Other topics that people would like to have. Now's the time to get them into the agenda. We'll have a bit of a lower attendance rate today based on some holidays that are happening for different folks. And so, yep, there's that. Also, as you think of your agenda items, it is customary to, well, harass any newcomers. So if you're a newcomer and haven't been on this specific call before, because we have a few different meetings in the community, then now's the chance to say hi. So, so yeah, if this is your first time on the call, just say hi. Tell us your what you had for breakfast, what your favorite color is, and what brought you to the community or what brings you to the call. It would be nice to meet you.
So hi everyone, my name is Abdullah Rafi. I'm a third year IT student from India studying in NITK Karnataka. So what I had for breakfast was, I actually slept through breakfast today, and I joined the Layer5 community because I was interested in cloud native technologies, and I'm currently studying about gRPC, Docker, Kubernetes, and hope to make my first contribution to Meshery soon. So that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I think in emojis anymore. I was going to throw up like the muscle emoji, and then I realized I don't really have a bicep to flex on that one. So, but yeah, so thanks for the introduction. Great to meet you. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I don't know what to say, but nice. It's nice to have you on. There's lots of gRPC and much else that happens here. So yeah, I can't wait for you to get your first Meshery PR in either. As we go through, there's actually like this month, like right now is a great time to jump into the community because there are intentionally a number of starter issues out there in the spirit of Hacktoberfest. And so, yeah, so there should be a lot of open ones that might hit the spot. Other newcomers on today's call.
Hi, folks. So I'm Anant Vijay, and I prefer to go with Dragon. And as to my hobbies, currently it's pestering Kamal with new issues on Slack and on GitHub. But I've been contributing for like less than a week at this point, but I'm finding it interesting. Moreover, this was mainly because of someone actually poked me to get into cloud native, and I had no idea about it. So while going through the communities, I actually found this one, and this was one of the most active communities in terms of beginners. So I decided to start contributing here.
Nice. Yeah, this is that's great, man. Hopefully this is the first and last community that you ever need.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
There's just a ton. There's a ton of tech being used. There's a lot to learn. Yeah, great. Thanks for the intro, Anant. And yeah, nice to put the dragon with the name or the moniker with the name. And so, by the way, just it's not because I'm a narcissist that I have my webcam up. It's because we like to connect as much as we can. So if you have a webcam, we'd love to see, turn them on. It'd be great. Good. Okay, so that's Anant, Abdullah, and Niraj Anand. Have you gotten a chance to introduce on this call before?
Yeah, I did already. Hi, everyone.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. All right. And do we miss anybody? Anant, your last. Oh, Vijay. Yeah. Great. Gaurav, you might help me out with making sure we get everybody recorded today. We usually have a potluck.
Neeraj. I guess Neeraj is new.
Yeah, I had guessed as much, but I think he has said hi in the past, and so I just forget what his favorite color is. That's all. Nice. All right, cool. Well, we've got a few things. I figured Pranav Singh is on the call. He's going to be doing an activity here in a couple of weeks. So Pranav, you want to talk about what's happening here?
Yeah. I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
I just, okay. Just 1 minute, I'm getting that link.
Oh yeah, sure. So just for all that may or may not be aware, Docker Desktop is available on Windows, Mac, and now Linux as of 6 months or more ago. As of 6 months or more ago, there are extensions that are available in Docker Desktop. They're pretty convenient. Just if you're running Docker Desktop, it's really convenient to turn on the extensions. So Layer 5 is a Docker partner, and Meshery is one of the, it was in the first batch of extensions to be released. So I'll hand it off to Pranav.
So actually, I came across this meetup, which would be held in Bangalore on 22nd of October. So what I would be doing was I filled up the form, this Google form, which talks about those who want to be speaker about the extensions, which they want to showcase during the Hacktoberfest. So I filled up this form about layer 5 extensions, Docker extensions, in which I would be showcasing about what we can do with Meshery Docker extension, how powerful it is, and what all things we can do with our So yeah, it would be held it's an in-person event. So if you're around Bangalore.
Lee, you are on mute.
You are on mute.
Yeah, actually the venue is not finalized yet, and also the agenda items. So it's in the
Yeah, nice, good. So hey, whether you're in Bangalore or not, there are open issues, open features to create on the Meshery extension for Docker Desktop. Pranav, since I'm putting you on the spot, I'll just keep doing it. You don't happen to have Docker Desktop running, maybe just point people to how they might install Meshery extension?
Yeah. The easiest way to use Meshery is through Docker extensions. What you need to do is just use your Docker desktop, and as soon as you get that, you can go to your extension marketplace, and over there you'll see Meshery, from where you can download the latest and the greatest version of Meshery right from here. It will get downloaded. Actually, I am not running it currently, but yeah, this is the easiest and the fastest way to run Meshery. And,
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty hard to mess up the installation. You have to like mouse click and miss the install button. And that's about the only way you can mess it up, I think. Otherwise, if you hit the install button with your mouse,
Yeah.
Meshery will download and install. Oh yeah, Pranav, I didn't mean to interrupt if you were speaking at it.
Yeah, and I was just saying that there are a couple of issues about Docker extension. Like one of them, which I recently created, it's about like the ability to deploy and undeploy your Meshery adapters, just so that the number of components which you require starting Meshery could be lowered down a bit, so that you're so that basically if you're low on resources, you don't go out of resources very quickly. And so yeah. And in some cases, you might need a couple of adapters only, not every adapter, as soon as you get started. So you can deploy and deploy after we get through this issue. So if you are new to, if you want to learn more about Golang and you have a couple, and you want to learn more about Golang, then this would be a great way to get started. So yeah, and there is a related issue on Meshery as well. So you can look into that as well. I'll give the link in the chat box.
Cool. Have other people seen the extension in the past? Some of you for sure have, because some of you have contributed to it already. That's for sure. There's a couple of things to do with it going forward. And so one of those is what Pranav is showing here. The thing that Meshery most prominently does in the Docker extension right now is it brings service mesh management to Docker Desktop's Kubernetes system. So if you're running Docker Desktop, you can turn on Kubernetes and you can install the Meshery extension and manage any service mesh that you can name. Moreover, you don't just have to connect Meshery to that local Kubernetes instance in Docker Desktop. You can connect to any Kubernetes instance that you want to. And that's a great story. And it's really helpful, especially if you're developing cloud native applications and you need a local development environment. Great, Meshery will help you run that other layer of cloud native networking. Again, managing it locally or managing it remotely, either way. That's very helpful. But that's only a part of what Meshery does. And it does a lot of other things. And those other things aren't directly exposed, like in the screenshot that you see here, they're not directly exposed in the Meshery extension. Fortunately, if you deploy the Meshery extension, you can log into Meshery itself and get full access to all of what Meshery does. So I don't have the extension installed either. How embarrassing. Because I'm already building and running Meshery separately, so I don't want it to conflict. I was going to install it and kind of show folks the current capabilities and some of the ones that we want to like for any of you to change, or the community to change. So one of those is that right now, when you download the Meshery extension, it downloads all of Meshery's adapters, one adapter for each service mesh. And, a lot of times that's not necessary. People don't need all of them. Maybe they need one, maybe they need 0. The Meshery does a number of things in helping manage Kubernetes. Meshery does a number of things in terms of helping do performance management. And all of that doesn't require Meshery's adapters. So that's what one of the enhancements is to allow users to more selectively choose to install one adapter, all of them or one or any combination. without having to wait to like download each and that kind of a thing. So that's what one of the issues that Pranav is highlighting. Another one that I think that he's probably opened is, well, it has to do with the fact that Meshery will, when it spins up, it will immediately attempt to connect to any of your Kubernetes systems, any of the Kubernetes clusters that you have listed in your local kube config. And it does so because it's a Kubernetes manager, it's a service mesh manager, it's a cloud native manager. So it wants to talk to Kubernetes as quickly as possible, start to learn and understand what you've got going on in your environment, and show you the information about your environment. The Meshery extension for Docker, it doesn't expose that information in the native UI. There's a screenshot here. So the UI more or less looks something like this right now. If you install it, great. It's not too bad. It really does a one-click install of any of these meshes. It's good. You can log in, go fully into Meshery, but there's a lot more information to expose about your environment, about what Meshery knows about your environment. And some of that, so Pranav is the perfect representative in this case, because he's worked in a few areas of Meshery, exposing higher level dashboards about what you've got, what Meshery is aware of and what it's helping manage for you. And so in my case, I've connected to a lot of different clusters under my account. And so it bubbles up that information. So one of the other open requests that are out there, the other challenges for Hacktoberfest is to, where's that? Is to bubble up that info here somewhere. Some of that same info. There's like a ton of bits of information to bubble up. So anyway, talk with Pranav. I think Harkarat is on the call as well. He's contributed to the extension, and so a good person to engage with. Anybody have any other comments or questions on the Docker extension? Yeah. So you'll find the extensions code inside of the meshery repo. That's a lot of mesheries, but yeah, it's in there. Next up is a topic from Ruturaj. I don't know if Ruturaj is on today. Oh yeah, he is.
Yep.
There he is.
Okay.
We've got yeah, there's a bit. Yeah, so we've got a catalog of content that Meshery has.
Yeah, so since there's a lot of newcomers today, let me give you a little context. So recently we had this feature about a catalog content. So we basically have before, when a new user signs up with Meshery, they don't have any designs made or any applications or filters made. So what we do is we just have a few public items on Meshery Cloud, and those items are available to every user, like irrespective of them being new or not. So when a new user signs in, they have something to work with instead of just a blank canvas or a blank, empty state. So yeah, that's a little bug there. But yeah, so these public items which a user can for themselves and then make edits or just deploy from right there. So the feature that I'm talking about here is for so this is for Meshery Cloud, but in Meshery for local provider, we also do something called as seeding of content, which is every time you spin up a Meshery instance, there is some seed content of these designs and filters that is populated inside Meshery. So yep. So this now goes through catalog content and is now public. So all these seed content designs are by default public and behave just like the seed content on Meshery Cloud. So I can clone them if I want and make changes to them. So yeah, that's the PR for this, and I think it's good to go. It's gonna be merged. And another thing that I've been working on just recently is for ability for uh, Meshery admins to make these make this cloud content, uh, like make cloud content public. So that PR for Meshery server will be up today, so that admins can just click maybe a button and just make any existing design or existing filter public onto the catalog. Yep.
As people think about that a little bit, one, it's a very helpful feature to have like content out of the box, because Meshery is an extensible, it's a platform, right? So it's capable of a lot of things, but if you don't have content, kind of, sample content or best practice content sitting there, it's more difficult for people to grok what Meshery does and how to use it. And so that's really helpful. You had mentioned, Ruturaj, that so people are able to create these designs, these Kubernetes configurations, these cloud native deployment configurations. And then they can eventually, with the work that you're doing, they'll be able to publish them to the public facing catalog on meshery.io, meshery.io/catalog. You mentioned that you're working towards that for designs/patterns and for WebAssembly filters. There's another piece of content in Meshery today. It's applications. And what are your thoughts on whether or not this same sort of feature is applicable to applications? So we don't have, I guess if we were to share the Meshery.io catalog, it does not have applications in there. So what do you think aloud for a minute?
The link that comes in the chat. So that's our cloud native catalog, and we don't currently have applications on there because technically we can deploy applications as a pattern file. So right now all we have there are patterns. But yeah, I think it will be helpful to have applications supported in catalog itself. So I mean, I do feel like that's a good idea. The reason we don't have it just yet is because we've never had it in the catalog. But yeah, I think it's okay. And I think it's not. I don't think there's any special considerations for applications. It's the same as patterns.
Yeah. Anybody else have thoughts to offer on the subject? So I have a couple, maybe random, which is, hey, if you're on this call and you're looking for something to do, see how small this is? See how nice and big this is? This should probably be bigger. Also, there's a ton of white space that's kind of wasted. There's some things that could be done to enhance. Some of you have been working on responsiveness of this, which is great. It looks great, by the way. Too bad Rohit isn't here to hear that. Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that. Anyway, there's a number of things to enhance here. Like one of those is, well, hey, so Raj, if I put in some time and I create a, maybe if I go in and I finish off this debugging the data plane and I look to publish it, gosh, do I get credit for that? Like, I don't. That might be nice. It might be nice if that was sort of associated to, if everybody was talking about me, that would be great. Just more people talking about Lee and pointing to Lee. That would be. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is like, oh, and there's something else to think about a little bit. Is like, yeah, do we want to, maybe some people would like to get some recognition or they wouldn't, and so maybe they would want their name there or not. Maybe they want a link to their GitHub if part of this is coming from their GitHub, or maybe over time they begin to version this, so they have an initial capability that they publish, and then they figure out that there's better practices to embed, and they want to do a second version. And so I know I'm aiming some of these questions, at Ruturaj, but there's been a lot of people involved in the creation of this whole thing, and so yeah, those are things to think about. I think that in their current form, some of these might have a version associated with them already, just under the understanding that that no doubt these will change over time. So
yeah, and also for now, the publishing to the catalog is only limited to admins. But yeah, if we want to eventually branch out to let anyone publish the catalog, maybe it's a good idea to credit.
yep, getting some rules, some roles in place, kind of some rules about the curation of it, makes some sense. Okay, anybody have any comments or thoughts on?
I think that does. Yeah, so basically what Harkirat is saying is we could probably have something like meshery.io/username, sort of an endpoint which shows for a particular user their public patterns. So basically letting anybody publish to the catalog, but I guess what he means is, I'm not sure if that's what he means, but maybe what he means is we don't, I guess, pollute the patterns page with all random people making their items public, but maybe go to a /username endpoint and see public items from that user. Is that what you're trying to say, Arthur?
Yeah, definitely. I was saying that as well. Like having an endpoint where people can see their patterns, like kind of like a GitHub does, like having the repository kind of like. We also have thing for like discuss.layer5.io where we can see the people involved in discussion. Kind of that only. Maybe Lee create some great patterns. He don't want to list that catalog. He want to be listed at his that he want to make. And he created those patterns, like having a endpoint for that for particular users.
Yeah, there's a couple of ideas to roll around in there, like if someone does want to be associated with the publication of a given piece of content, that they could have their name, and then as part of that, if they would like to have social URLs, and so to the extent that they have earned a spot in having a community member profile, that it might, their name might link to that. Maybe optionally it would to link to other social profiles. Especially right now, since there does need to be a curation process for the catalog. Like, people shouldn't be able to just go publish swear words and stuff that doesn't work, and and because of that, they'll need to, when they create that content in Meshery, they'll need to they need to have a Meshery account, and they would submit for publication through that Meshery account. And so part of me saying that is an acknowledgement that they will already have an account, some social link to point to as well. So yeah, those are all good. Somebody should write that down. Those are all good thoughts. So given the time, hey, next topic up is from Cyrine, if she's here. Yep. So Cyrine, I put this on here without asking you, and that is understanding that you're kind of digging into this troubleshooting toolkit, or this troubleshooting document for Meshery deployments. I figured you can introduce people to the doc, solicit some assistance where you think you might need some?
Yeah, I don't really have my PC right now, so I'm not really sure if I can kind of open the doc and show it. Maybe someone else can share it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for any noise that is around.
No, that's okay. Yep, here's the doc. Here's a link to the doc. Cyrine, I don't know if you want to talk about what's in here, what it focuses on.
So this is pretty much a doc that it explains general parts of the architecture of Meshery and how it all relates together, as well as some issues that happen quite a bit when trying to install Meshery and run it, and also what are fixes that were already found to be able to fix them. So what I'm gonna be trying to do is I'm going to add some of the stuff that I noticed while I was troubleshooting my own installation of Meshery, and also see if there are anything that have been that have changed recently in Meshery, and reflect that in this documentation. We're also trying to kind of clarify some of the statuses that are used, or the notations that are used, to make it easier to understand, and also to make it uniform across other parts of the documentation that are already available on Meshery website documentation.
Yeah. So for those of you who've run Meshery, I'm going to pull it up here in a moment, and I'll run it in a second. You'll have noticed that there's a meshery-operator. The part of the operator is mesh sync, and that's how Meshery server stays in sync with Kubernetes and all the things that are going on there. As such, mesh sync is kind of the heart of Meshery. It pumps data, pumps information over to Meshery, and it's really important for that connection to be established. And so, like Cyrine said, that document outlines those statuses, what to do if you get into trouble. And so, great. So I'll put a link here. The next topic, though, is from Antonette. I don't think that she is on. She had mentioned that she couldn't be earlier this week. So just Antonette Caldwell is currently interning with Layer 5. She's been working on a bunch of things. One of those things is upgrading Meshery and all of its components from Golang 117 to Golang 119. And so we're actually in a state of transition at the moment. I think a lot of the adapters have been migrated. And so we're we're mid-flight on that change. So that's that. Next up is Nishant. I'm not sure if you're ready to share, talk about some of the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
My screen is visible, right?
It is.
Yeah, so okay. So MeshMap actually is Layer 5's product that allows users to visualize or design their cloud native deployments. And I'm working on bringing real-time collaboration capabilities to it. So far, I've been able to add features like share your cursor location with other users working on the same design, or and also sharing your avatar and your name with other users. So here is some small demo how it works. So I'm on this MeshMap collab design, and this is my another account, which when it comes to the MeshMap collab design, and as you can see, I'm able to see the avatar of the other user here, and as I don't have an avatar here, so I'm just able to see an N here. So yeah, So whenever I move anywhere, the other user will be able to see where my cursor is, irrespective if I move my node somewhere else. It will take into account the position of my canvas. Similarly, it happens with the other user can also share their cursor movements, and also their name is written at the bottom of their cursor, so that you know whose cursor it is. So if let's say there are multiple users or collaborating on the same design, so you know, like in this case, I have both the users that have same name, but if you have multiple users with different names, you'll be able to recognize that who is pointing to what. And soon I'll like the next iteration of this feature is soon you'll be able to see how many people connected to this Meshery server are present, how many people are present and using mesh map, and you'll be able to see their avatars someplace here. So yeah, that's mostly what you can expect in the phase 1. And after that, we'll also be working on adding a couple of features like eventually you'll be able to see what I'm editing, and I'll be able to drag and drop nodes here and there, and the other person in real time would be able to see that. And yeah.
So, Nishant, I was just building your branch and starting to run it. Would we expect that if I were to edit the same design, that maybe you would see my user now, or is that not?
So which branch are you building?
I think it's the. Let me get the exact name. The collab signaling on Meshery server. And then for the plugin, the designer awareness.
So the designer awareness branch uses the signaling server in Meshery server. So we won't be able to collaborate. But if you build out Nishan WRP real-time test 4, which uses a public signaling server, most probably we'll be able to collaborate. If you can do that, we can test that.
Okay.
out.
Well, I'll do that while we're on the call. See if we can kind of show that, prove that out. It'll be a first. It'll be a first. Well, as people, so if people that are on the call, if you don't get a sense of this already, there's a lot of kind of real-time discussion going on about things that Meshery should do, things that are in flight, people soliciting feedback on work that they're doing, and then also people asking for help, or pointing out places where you can get engaged. And I'll point out a place where you can get engaged. One of those is in design. So there's there's 3 different design files that the community has inside Figma. And one of them is dedicated just to Meshery. There's a page in Meshery for, I know the font is quite small. I don't think you can't, for Figma being a UX product, it's pretty terrible at UX. I can't enhance this, but there's a page in here called Mesh Map. So the Mesh Map page has lots of details and various folks collaborating on designs. And so I wanted to do 2 things. One is just reinforce what Nishant was saying about real-time collaboration features that he's working on now, and some things to come. I think this particular mock-up identifies some of what that is. And so some of that will be, hey, if there's multiple people that have got Meshery running and they're working on the same design, they're configuring their cloud native infrastructure, then you might see their avatars, you might see their initials. in a couple of different places. If they're just in and maybe not working on the same design, but they're just using Meshery itself, or they're in the visualizer mode in MeshMap, then you might begin to see, you might just see them up here as being signed in. And so, in a fairly similar fashion, you have kind of a similar experience inside of tools like Figma. You certainly have a similar experience inside of tools like Google Docs. And so, in a lot of respects, that's what Shant is shooting for. Questions, comments on this? Go get involved in the design, go get involved with Nitish on implementation, or Nishant on implementation.
I have a question that how are like 2-3 people's collaborating on the one mesh map?
Yep. Yeah. So let me answer that with, well, actually, maybe at the end of the call, we'll demo that but in concept, it's a bit like this. So earlier in the call, I shared the Meshery's architecture deck so that everybody can familiarize with the various components and what it does and how things are changing over time. And, Niraj, jumped in, is checking it out. Kamal jumped in, checking it out. And so if Kamal happened to be on whatever slide I'm on, I should be able to see that. He would see the fact that I'm taking something and moving it around. From a UX perspective, it would be the same behavior, the same type of behavior that you kind of see here, that you would see in MeshMap. You'd see the fact that they were configuring it and moving it around. Is that what you were asking, or?
Actually, like I have logged in and I'm working on my mesh map. How is the other user also working on the same? Like, how are we collaborating on the same page of mesh map?
Oh yeah. So there isn't at the moment. That's a great question. At the moment, and just as soon as I build the right Meshery, I'll be running Meshery to show you. There isn't a shared design button or like. So at the moment, it's an underformed set of capabilities around making your designs public or private, which in part has to do with what Ruturaj was talking about earlier on the call. So the short answer is, at the moment, I don't know that you can. Or like at the moment, one, you don't have the facility to go share your design. Two, you also, Nishant's code, collaborative code, hasn't landed. So that feature to collaborate isn't there yet.
Okay.
But yeah. But hopefully in the future, it will be things like this where maybe maybe if each of these slides, if they were individual designs, which they kind of are, right? Here's a design. Here's another design that's different. Here's another, let's say that this is MeshMap, this is Meshery, MeshMap. If I see that Abdullah is signed in, and oh yeah, he was working on this other one. I wanted to talk to him real fast about whether or not it made sense to have a persistence layer here, that I might poke him or ask him that Meshery would facilitate like a quick message, either a quick chat or just a quick like buzz, like, hey, follow me and come see this. And then we can both visually be collaborating over does that make sense? So we want to help facilitate a bit of collaboration just by the fact that there might be multiple users in there at any given time. And yeah, in concept, if two people have two public facing designs, so maybe two people load up the same design from Meshery catalog, then maybe they would see the fact that multiple people are in there and looking at it, just like you do in a Google Doc that's open and people can come,
Yes.
other questions or comments or suggestions or you know. Nice. So the next topic was Pranav. Do you want to cover this one?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
So, so there was a recent issue on the dashboard of Meshery wherein we were not able to see the version of each specific Meshery adapter when you were hovering over them. And that was just because I explained in our last meeting that there is a problem in the multi-platform workflow in which we were not passing the right build arguments on build, which were because of which the right argument were not being passed during the Docker build process. Hence, the image of each adapter wasn't getting those arguments in their image. So when it was being run, it was not being sent to the UI. So I this problem on 3 of the adapters. Only is more about Docker build process, then this would be great issue to get started. And just to test it out, I'm running the latest Meshery version on the Kubernetes, and it's also running console adapter. So if I hover over it, so then we can see that the latest version which was released of console adapter was 0.6.3. So yeah, it's fixed now for console, and the remaining of that would be fairly soon.
That's awesome. So those are good first issues, and will have a material impact immediately.
Yeah.
Nice. I can almost feel my Hacktoberfest t-shirt on my skin right now. That's like a good way to go. All right, cool. Well, okay, go jump in.
Yeah. And I was just showing that.
Yeah, say it again.
The rest of them yet to be released.
So you can now see the
we can see for other adapters as well.
The version number, yeah.
Yes.
Very good. I don't know that we have Avi on at the moment. So we maybe skip over the GraphQL subscription. Gaurav and Mario, though, there's a couple of topics here about end-to-end tests, designs, and Hacktoberfest challenges. You guys want to chat about these?
Yeah, Mario, if you have made some progress with the last discussion from Cyprus, so we can chat about it.
Yeah,
now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Let me just share very quickly. So what I've got so far is, okay, where is this? Okay, you guys should be seeing my screen now.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you for confirming. So basically, just ignore some of these changes, but so what I was trying to do is to have this, where is that? Yeah, I was trying to do different approaches to have a test WebSocket server running before the integration tests. And this is not complete, but I prefer not to proceed. Well, basically, the problem here is that, where is this other? I think it's in the plugins. Yeah, I was trying to initialize it, but there's a challenge because the tool I was using is called, where is that? So it's basically mock socket with protocol, but I realized this is this is a mock, so it works at the memory level. It doesn't really work when you're trying to use a real network. So I could change it, but I was a bit reluctant to do it because if we agree to use a mock server, it might be something that won't change, but every time we change things in the real server, now there's this maintenance overhead to have like a test server, not a mock server, but a test socket server. And it might get a bit too complex. So as of today, in this integration test for the configuration management, so we see, let me just remove this because it's really annoying. Okay, there. The test under Cypress integration, integration. Let me just show that. So these are integration tests which mock a lot of things, and it used to be easy when we're just using endpoints to get basically the relevant thing here was the filter request, get the filters. But now with this GraphQL, like I'm considering suggesting to move some of these checks. Like there's really simple checks, and while we would like to do them without the server, like it might get too expensive, like to maintain because of the test socket server. So we could move some of these checks to end-to-end tests, and they really, as long as you have the server running, they should run okay, I guess. Although I do see that there is a certain state in which, well, yeah, they should work basically. I don't know. Like I'd like to have some feedback on what do we prefer to do before like taking any decision, because that'll impact going forward, like all the people that rely on these tests. So should we move these to a E2E test so that we don't have to worry to have a separate process where a socket server runs when we already do that in our actual server, and we could just make it really easy to run it. For example, if we go to the package JSON of the UI, let me just show that very quickly. Okay, I'm in there already. Cool. So here, if we go to package JSON, where is that? Don't see it. Okay, here. So when we run the test, there are multiple ways of running them, right? But let me see. Start server and test. Yeah. So this, for example, we could just add some instructions over here to run the server for us before running the tests. So this actually runs everything. But we could do some changes here and make it easy to run both the Meshery server and Meshery UI before running the test locally, or from the server, or from the CI, sorry. And this will make sure to stop well, at least when it's an npm script, it usually stops the UI. So we could try to do that. And now the idea is that now we wouldn't have to have that socket server. So is there any comments, questions? Because I could make the socket server work, but again, that's something to consider not doing.
In your mind, what's the negative ramification of just reusing Meshery's socket server?
I mean, it could work, because the only thing is that when you're running a test, there's multiple levels of end-to-endishness. So when we have the server, now the difference is that we have to do preparations against the server or any database or the data store so that we can test specific scenarios. If that's easy to do for us in Meshery server, which I think it might be, it could be better to do that, because now we're not having some test double, which we assume is up to date when it might not be, right? And it's really easy to miss to update the test doubles, like what the one I'm proposing we should not do. So yeah, if you ask me, I would prefer to use the server, and just we would need to define how are we going to like seed the data. I'm guessing that with server running, it would be just a matter of running some. We could run like send a certain request to check if the data we need for the test is there. If not, inject it somehow. Like I guess we could code that around, and then run the test we need to run. So, any other comments or questions, like opinions around this? I mean, there was this support commands that it was added by Gaurav, I think, right? And they look pretty good, but this is for sending like actual GraphQL requests and aliases. But when we talk about sockets and GraphQL subscriptions, that kind of like changes things a bit, because now they're listening to a different mechanism, which is not a like HTTP request, or so that kind of like changes things a bit. So, any other comments? Yeah, this for example, this really doesn't help a lot. We do send such. No, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
You would move this test over here and then use the server.
Yeah, the less test harness there is, the less you've got to maintain. I just last week was there's a golden mockup file that was being used for meshery-ctl while unit tests, and it was using a version 5. Meshery version 5.10, which was a year ago, and eventually it just broke. Eventually it took a year, but it broke, and so tests were failing. Yeah, to the extent that we're able to use more of Meshery to do its own testing, a lot of times you run into like this chicken before the egg or a horse before the cart.
Yeah. Like what are you testing if like you're assuming that other component works to test the current component? And but in this case, I think, go ahead.
No, I think I was going to say what you were going to say, which is to the extent that other component is generally reliable, then all the better, because you're just reinforcing the fact that that other component works.
They collaborate correctly, right?
Yeah.
Of course. All right. Sounds great. Then I'll start working on like fitting this into E2E level. Like we still have E2E test for this, so maybe we're kind of reducing the duplication around. Like there's a lot of things in the integration test we could easily check over here and just add changes for the GraphQL, like the GraphQL subscriptions, like make sure we prepare the test data. But thanks for the feedback. I gotta run, but
thank you
around.
That's good.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye. And so we are at the top of the hour. Did anyone else have anything to share? Some of you've got to run. Good. So great. So hey, if you're here and you're intrigued and you don't have your hands on something, like I encourage you to mention that in Slack or in the discussion forum, and go get busy. So next up, I think we had a community meeting about Hacktoberfest this last Friday, and we don't have a community meeting this Friday. What we do have is tomorrow is the bi-weekly Meshery build and release meeting. It's the continuous integration, GitHub Actions, that set of discussions generally happen tomorrow. So that meeting's on the calendar. At that link. So good. So we'll see some of you tomorrow for the Meshery build and release meeting. Otherwise, we'll maybe see you on the Monday website call. Okay. All right. Thanks all. Nice to see you. See you later.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.